This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by Blood Letters by GMB Kamichuk and Ariel Gordon. Blood Letters is an artifact from the future, a jumbled archive of robots, soldiers, dot matrix printouts, ID cards, propaganda posters, photos, maps, and letters. The human detritus offering hints that something has gone horribly wrong. Available where all books are.
Attention, citizens! It's time for Super Pulp Science!
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I'm GMB Kamichuk. I'm here with my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry.
It's longer than usual.
Ooh, he's longer than usual, known the world over as Chasing Artwork, and producer extraordinaire Dan Vadeboncoeur. Now, we have a bunch of other people in the studio right now who are podcast regulars, like Jonathan Ball and Lyndon Rachanka, but we also have maybe some surprise guests who are arriving off airplanes, so we're going to just...
Oh.
There might be interruptions.
Okay.
There may be interruptions, Dan, so I apologize for whatever editing may be necessary on this episode.
Oh, man.
Okay, the first thing I want to do, if you are new to this podcast, or if you're old to this podcast, you know that one of our favorite things to do is make books of all varieties. And we did something very special recently. Justin hasn't seen it for reals, or at least not in this way before. Justin, open that box. I already tore the tape on it.
So it comes in the familiar box from Friesens, which they make specifically the weight of, like, the limit of what an average person should carry per box. So they are very specific the way they pack their boxes.
Yeah.
Any heavier, and it's dangerous for your back.
I'm not sure if they're officially unionized. Donovan, you can reach out and let us know, but I do know they're a very fair and equitable company.
So I was there for not the inception of this idea, but like when the ball really started rolling, because we were at a baseball game.
That's right.
You got to have one-on-one time with not like the production manager at Friesens, but
like
the guy,
pressman. Yeah.
one of the press guys who knew like the real intricacies of things you could get away with at the press.
The way he framed the project that you're holding right now is what you're asking to do usually happens on a machine as an error, and what you're hoping that you can do it on purpose.
This is the kind of feature that, like, they know they can do it, but they wouldn't want to offer it because nobody would be able to. It'd be too hard to work with clients with this.
Can you imagine a regular client doing what
right?
you're
Like,
unpacking?
I'm sure somebody pitches like, okay, well, it can do this. Should we offer this as a feature? And they didn't. It's too complicated.
That'd be out. So why don't you tell your dear listener what you are unloading? What have you found?
Gregory has a book in which the guts are all the same, but the cover is different on every single one of these books. And the way it was described to me from the press guy at the baseball game was when the press is taking the file for the cover, he was going to write a bit of code where instead of grabbing one file for the cover, it randomly picks one of 200 files for the cover.
204 in this.
204.
Yeah.
And so everything else prints the same, but instead of 1,000, 2,000 of the same cover, it's grabbing randomly a cover every time.
Right.
So it looks like there's...
And limited to a certain number, so there would be a maximum of 10 of each cover.
Not 100% sure. It's kind of...
No, we're pretty sure there's a little overage. So in printing, dear listener, and because we're not promising a certain number to anyone, it's no big deal. That's another reason why I think...
Duplicate.
Yeah.
But it's the back page.
The back is different, yeah. The notion here is that there are 200 different covers for our new project called the Thistle Grimoire. It is, as my son who came to help us unload it from Friesen said, he texted to his friends, "No, I'm going to be late for school today. I have to unload my dad's new Spellbook." And it is intended to feel like a naturalist's guide to an extra-dimensional invasion of a human realm and the subsequent discovery of weapons of resistance by the human occupants, and then the terrible cost of wielding those weapons is also present pictorially. In the grand tradition of asemic text, it looks like you can read it, but you cannot. It can be decoded in partial ways, as per my, what's the word I would look for? Obsessive compulsive tendency with this project. But as far as like a direct one-to-one letter-to-letter translation, not possible. And each one, the covers range from something that feels like a fun map book to like a tome of pure evil to a curious sword and sorcery cover. So this is important because we've never done anything like this before.
Did you get confirmation if they've really done this at all before?
I don't have a direct confirmation except a text from Donovan saying, I don't think we've ever tried anything like this before.
Because even like as the tech was kind of like going over how it worked, like he knew how it would work, but he didn't sound like he'd really tried it before.
Yeah.
So this could very well be a first.
And why it was possible for what we were doing is that from a pure technical side, the bleeds, the overages, the trim, the live area of text, those things which are normal to do a press check on each component on a regular cover are not required on this one.
Because it's supposed to be, you have so much wiggle room with the artwork.
That's
and
right.
So
if
many
it trims a little off,
Yeah.
it seems intentional. If the thing is cut off, it seems intentional. If it's not precisely or seems to be precisely trimmed within a normal human scope, all fine. So that we didn't have to then do a proof of each 204 covers, which would have added an enormous cost to the project. But because it was
So
sort of...
Speaking of costs, like what did this add to the project cost? Was it substantial? Was it...
So in the interest of defending Friesens from people saying, oh, I heard putting 200 covers is super cheap, let me first clarify that if you have a standard cover that must be press checked and proofed, there is a fee, sometimes it's $500, $600, $800 to do a new alternate cover. And that's because the precision that you are paying for will be taken with each new iteration of your book.
But this is an experiment.
We negotiated a lack of precision pricing, essentially. Not that they didn't do a precise job. They did a sample of press checks and made sure that it would work. But rather than send a bundle that you would need to approve or come down and approve each of the 204, which is man hours of labor, we said, if these few work, run the rest.
Yeah, you gave them the sign off. If anything is a little off, it's on me, not on you guys. Sure. You understand.
And then on a print run of, I think we did 2,000, I want to say it added something like 32 cents per book.
Yeah, which is kind of the same as if you were to do like a foil or French flaps or like any of those like little like add-ons. You know,
Spot UV.
Yeah, you're looking at like 20, 30 cents to $1 per book adding on for like something special. And this is definitely something special.
Okay, so the result is you have how many? 2,000?
Yeah.
Copies of the Thistle Grimoire. Each one of them looks different.
So it's 2,000 divided into 204 covers, right? So it's about 10 each, give or take. A slight overage of about 10% for printing, which is typical. And they were packed. Our great joy, my son thought Jonathan Ball and I were so funny because we were opening the boxes and we had such joy because what we feared would happen was that Friesens, who is so well known for their precision, would not be able to fight the urge to sort them properly and box them right with light covers. Instead, they followed our wishes, which were to randomize the boxes also.
Was the spine also?
So the spine is the same on all of them.
Okay.
And the great joy there is then if you had 4 or 5 at a bookstore racked and you pull one off, they look like the same book, so it's easier to find.
Yeah.
But when you pull it off, it's clearly different from the other books, so it will increase, we hope, that problem of bookstores, which is if they are spine out, what is it, right? Do you bother to look at it? So we created an intentional mystery. So when it's spine out, there's no title on the book. Also, it contains no colophon or no human language of any sort inside the volume.
So the interior of the book it looks like some kind of spell book or some like grimoire. But the covers are excerpts from the book. So it's not like you designed 200 new covers.
But I took a whole bunch of elements and pages that aren't in the book and randomly inserted it into the cover set. So some of the books also contain pages that aren't inside the book. So some of them are even more unique than others.
I believe I have made a significant find in the Kandarian runes, a volume of ancient Sumerian burial practices and funerary incantations. It is entitled Naturan de Manto, roughly translated, Book of the Dead.
The only way to make it not a cash grab is that we don't know either. There's no way for us to put our finger on the scale. We just open the boxes as, we stack them in the storage room. We open them up to ship them. We don't know what's what. When we send them off, we're not going to do that sorting. And so it's a tangible kind of thank you to the people who would support a book like this, is that they could get something actually that there's only one of 10 in the whole world.
Are you scared that people are going to request, like, could I get this cover, please?
I'm always nervous of that kind of stuff, but the greatest part about being very difficult to reach is you don't have to answer too many questions like that.
I would imagine you're going to have people like looking through all the stacks looking for their favorite one or something like that.
I hope so.
My favorite is this alien dinosaur bone looking one so far, or there's a couple with skeletons floating around with flail. Yeah, the skeleton. A lot of skeleton ones.
This one with the guy has a tongue that is a flail. I quite like that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
These are all surprising to me. These are the hard to find ones. The thistle cover.
Oh, the rare one.
I found a thistle cover for you. Yeah.
It's a rare pull, everybody.
That's right.
There we go. Why is that rare?
Because the book is called The Thistle Grimoire, and only, I guess, 10 or 12 of them, maybe with the overages, have the actual thistle covers that the book derives its name from. The internal plate, like the inside cover printing, contains that image on all of them, so that there's at least some hint as to why it's called that.
Okay, so this is a big project. This is 2,000 books. It's not a small feat.
That's right.
I think you should talk about the inception of this. Even before it was a book, it was something else, and then it was a different version of this book, and then it became this. So can you run us through the history of the Thistle Grimoire project?
I think important to point out, dear listener, that some projects are compulsions more before they are professions. And the pages that became the Thistle Grimoire definitely qualify as that. I was working in my long ago days on the graphic novel series Midnight City. And because I always pitch that book as pulp era and golden age characters versus H.P. Lovecraft and H.G. Wells monsters. It was really easy to put in a Martian tripod into the pages of that book, and people at a glance could tell, oh, H.G. Wells is present in this graphic novel. But I wanted to have something that really said, like, Lovecraftian horror, without just being yet another tentacle monster. And so I did pages of an imagined grimoire, an imagined lexicon, an imagined spellbook. I did 2 or 3 to make them look like they were some kind of pact with an undersea
world building.
Yeah, a little bit of like a pact with an undersea creature of some sort. And then I inserted those into the Midnight City books as non sequiturs. Didn't explain where they came from. They're not part of the regular narrative. They're like almost like an ad page, but it's
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like a bit crazy making.
It's like when you see those movies, like The Evil Dead would be a good one, and the characters always, flip through the pages.
Right.
And even as a kid, I thought, how cool would it be to have that job of designing that evil book that the characters find?
That's right.
And I'm sure, like, it's just the project, the mission statement is like, make an evil looking book.
That's
like,
right.
Lots of skulls, lots of blood, lots of
but
scary looking diagrams.
My problem was that I wanted to make them aesthetically interesting. So that even if they weren't readable, they were at least decipherable from a sense of which part is the really bad part and which part is probably something like a secret you'd want to know. And so I wrote it in different languages that I made up. Some I imagined were written by ambidextrous scribes writing in mirror image from the center of the page and outwards, so that there is a symmetrical flow of that word. So how I would do that is I would just do one side and then copy it and flip it, right? And then together they make a certain shape. And then those shapes to me suggested some pictographic language. And then I cut some of that pictographic language to represent the ones that looked the most like creatures I had already drawn, like by accident. I was like, oh, that looks like the same shape language as this creature. I made the names of those first creatures. Like I put them on the page as if it's important. Like this is the title of the encyclopedia entry. And then as I got more and more interested in working on those pages, in and around that time, Sylvia got in touch for a project called the Necronomicon. Nick Mamatis was doing a.
That's the name of the book in The Evil Dead.
That's right. Well, no, it's the Necronomicon, which is a reference to H.P. Lovecraft's Necronomicon. But this guy's, the author's name was Nick, and so it was the Necronomicon.
Oh, Nick.
Right. It was a funny. And so she said, do you have any of these illustrations? I know you like doing this kind of stuff. Could you do some for me? And I had already had a bunch. And so instead of saying, yeah, I'll do some exclusively for you, here's a whole bunch, pick the ones you want to include. And we just did basically a license agreement where she could put them in the book, but they would remain mine.
Yeah. And that's when you made them into prints?
And that's when I started making them into prints.
Yeah.
Because my first thought was no one would want this creepy stuff anywhere on their walls. Like, who would have put this up? There's no way. But then there was enough of a reason to have them presented in another way.
If you don't make a couple pieces of art that like make you happy, but your thought is nobody else is going to give two shits about this, and then people do, like, can you really call yourself an artist?
That was 100% these. Yeah. There's no way.
It was for you.
I did these for me. I did these as an artistic expression, as a bit of an experiment. Why the language forms in them seems vaguely Arabic is that the problematic history of H.P. Lovecraft as an author is that he said that the Necronomicon in his stories, he's always referring to this mad Arab that wrote the Necronomicon. So my subversion of that idea was, could I make a language that an ignorant racist would mistake for Arabic? And so this is why I use some of the shape language, but none of the kanji, none of the letters.
It kind of reminds me of the language in Arrival, the movie about them meeting aliens. And
the circular language.
Symmetrical, but they have a lot of like kind of mirror and almost like ink blots kind of.
As you're looking through it, what you may or may not be able to tell is that it's designed so that the darkest printing is intended to be the original manuscript, and then the next lighter printing is like the notations of later owners of the same pages. And so as different scholars got a hold of the pages, they started to annotate and add to the grimoire as the history of resistance against these strange creatures made itself known.
Is any part of it actually translatable?
Not as a one-to-one.
No.
But the easiest way, I mean, I have a much long-winded, in a way, yes, but mostly no. To a regular person, no. Some of the way into it would be that these also became anchor images for a whole bunch of our shared world stories. And so the authors of the shared world stories, Chadwick Ginther and Jonathan and James Gillespie and myself, we all use those images as representative of certain cosmologies, certain creatures, certain gods, certain, whatever. And so we use those to decorate out but it grew in the telling. Like there's a whole story in here that only I can tell, sort of.
But you started making it as prints and people reacted and people actually started buying.
That was the thing that was such a surprise to me. Amid all my...
To the point that you made it part of your banners even.
Yeah. Like it grew into that. It was like the best A/B testing that you could have. I just had 2 or 3 of these really weird prints in my portfolio. No fanfare, no way to let anyone know that that's where you'd find them. And just in that regular circulation.
An elevator pitch for when they started looking at them, or did you wait until they asked? Like how
it
often...
started with, this reminds me of H.P. Lovecraft stuff. And I go, and then they started to routinely be the thing that would sell out. I would only bring a few every show.
Because who wants this?
That's right. But then when I would go through my portfolio to reload or to figure out these, they would always be gone. And be like, sometimes I have a helper at a show or whatever. And so you don't always know what goes in first. And so that was a real surprise to me. It's like, these are really going. And I made more of them, so maybe I'll print some different ones, until I eventually had a whole portfolio that was just those things that really seemed like a bad move.
You mean nobody's seen this place yet?
Oh, not yet.
Well, it might not be that bad.
No.
Actually, it might be kind of nice.
Yeah. It's probably a real pit.
There's a strange demographic of entomologists that are super into these prints. They like that the bugs are presented, or the bug-like creatures are presented, as it was put to me, grotesquely beautiful, as insects are. This is what someone said to me recently, and I found that to be kind of wonderful.
And the reason I brought up the like the back display, like part of kind of how our business model works a bit is we'll do new prints, we'll bring them to a couple shows, and even if they perform well at one show, they might not perform well at other shows. But after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shows, if they've kind of proven themselves, then they might be made into a permanent display, which lasts a year or two.
I didn't really have a good elevator pitch other than it's weird and I like it. Yeah. And so I found that the easiest way to get people to know it existed without having to explain it to them was to make that back banner. So once I made that huge banner that was just the work on display, it drew people, or frankly, scared them away. Like I have seen people who are convinced, the satanic panic is alive and well, ladies and gentlemen, and dear listeners. So some people see it, they assume I've given my soul to a dark force, and they scurry away as fast as they can.
Dark force, ladies and gentlemen, is workaholism.
That is also true. This is a project that has gone to a lot of different places and taken me some interesting places. And it's not too early to say that it's gotten me a production design job on a weird
timeline-wise, like when
project.
What year did this kind of like start and to here?
I was trying to figure that out. I don't remember when I first...
Circa?
You know what? I can find out if I look in the...
He's grabbing another publication to check the publication date on that.
I'm tired of this.
That's kind of like one of the good things about having like an Instagram, Facebook, DeviantArt account, for going back for a diary to figure out when projects really came to light for the first time.
Okay, so then it would have been, this goes back to 2015, I guess.
2015?
Yeah.
So 10 years.
Yeah, it's been 10 years of slowly dripping out. And what's interesting about this is there's 204 pages in this, but there's probably 400 of these that I made. So I still have enough for another volume if I wanted, but I kind of tried to curate this so that if you went a page at a time, it would tell that story of something bad arrived. Oh no, humans are enslaved. Oh, hooray, some figured out how to resist. Oh no, making weapons out of that meteorite probably was a bad idea. The radiation has turned us into monsters. But wait, being a monster means we can fight a monster. Mm-hmm. And so like that kind of breakdown is definitely present in here. And I've hidden Easter eggs for myself and in my other work in this book. So
this
will be the first show.
Yeah, debuting at the Winnipeg Comic-Con.
That's right.
Where would you like to see this project go in another 5 years? What would the next step be?
Well, we have a pretty big distributor deal for it. I'm going to find out whether it was the absolute worst idea on earth to leave my name off of it. Like it'll have, to the distributor, it'll have a very easy...
information?
Nothing, zero.
Wait, doesn't Friesens make you put printed in Canada at least?
Yes, we didn't. Instead, we have a sticker. We had promised the distributor and all legal entities, including the Canadian government, that the easy peel sticker that will go on the back of it will contain all of that information and the printed in Canada info as well. So we've broken some rules here and said this is when we're going to find out whether it was a really, really bad idea.
Hello.
Hey, come on in.
I know someone's out there. I heard you. I heard you in the cellar.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, learners of all ages, we have a surprise guest in the studio. Dear listeners, I present to you Palette Justin.
All right.
Now, you've had to have this title assigned to you because we have a Justin already. He's right there.
Mm-hmm. That's sitting across from me.
That's right. That's our
His name is also Greg, though.
Yes. Yeah. And the strange thing is his name is also Gregory. But in order to avoid confusion, we have called you Palette Justin. The same way that we once called a Matt Bay Press and a different Matt Heavy Metal, so that we could keep all our mats together.
There we go.
Straight. So why don't you tell the dear listeners what you do Not just for us.
I definitely don't do anything as creative or as fun as you guys do. I just manage a lot of logistics and stuff like that. Make sure all your product gets to each venue on time and safely when it needs to be there, and help these fine folks get their products out and visible. So,
How often do you swear about us?
not very often.
No?
You guys are simple. You guys are the easy ones. I have other guys that take the dimensions for the pallet to the maximum. I usually tell people I like 7.5 feet just so you don't hit the roof. These guys go up to like 8.5. So they're bare minimum, and they make it exactly 4 feet wide, so they fit only precisely between each other.
Now,
So it's a pain in the butt when you have to figure out how to load that.
you don't know this, but previously before this, we were talking not just the artistic side of the specifications of a project, but the actual technical, logistical portions. So this fits right in.
Spot on.
Right?
Bang.
This fits right in.
Perfect
That
timing.
how big something is, how much it weighs, and how often you have to send it somewhere are such a big part of the book industry. If you're in the book industry, you're in the shipping industry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And therefore, you need people like Pallet Justin.
Exactly. That's how it goes. Books are heavy. You wouldn't want to transport them all yourself every time.
If
Especially this is what book number.
Oh,
Do
for
you
me,
know anymore?
I don't even know. That's not like, I'm not trying to be disingenuous.
No,
I
I wanted
legitimately
to point
don't
out,
know.
like, for artists, that's primarily what we do is we get suitcases together and we go to conventions all over the place. Prints are one thing, right?
Yeah.
You can have hundreds and hundreds of prints in a suitcase.
Yeah.
That still gets overweight really quickly, but as soon as you get into books,
10
10
books.
of a book,
15
yes,
books, you're out of it.
is equivalent to hundreds of prints, right?
Yeah.
And if you have multiple books and you want to keep bringing more and more books, flying it gets really tricky really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could go by train everywhere. I wish there was a train that took me to all
Train is definitely an option. It's there, but
Yeah.
it's
No, but I know how
time
trains work
sensitive.
in this modern era.
Time sensitive is not the way to do it, because the train has to get. You have to load it on a truck, which is the fastest way to get there, because it's got to go in the truck anyways on wheels. But then usually what happens is they would take it off a chassis or just lift the chassis straight onto the train.
Right.
And then the train would travel cross country and then be offloaded by like a big crane and then drop there. And then it'd have to go through either customs, seals. You have to use the trains, like their ports essentially is what they would be. And then those guys tend to go on strike a lot because they're unionized and it's a pain in the ass. So the train is definitely the cheapest way to do it, but there's just a lot more logistics that has to happen and more people have to handle it. Yeah.
A lot
So
more
it's
of what
time sensitive
Yeah.
train.
Yeah. So I could get a truck, say I got a truck to Toronto to Vancouver. It could take me 6 days to get there. The train will take me 4 days to get it there, but then it'll take me still a day on either end to get it off the truck, onto the train, off the truck, off the train, onto the truck, and then have it drive there anyways. So it's,
right.
you save a little bit of money because you don't have to pay the driver from point A to point B. You just have the train conductor do it with hundreds of cars, but then you have to pay people to. It's about the same.
What I find fascinating about your job, I've said this to you, and while you're not around, is I find fascinating about your job is that you have to go to more shows than we do.
Yeah.
Like you're at more Comic-Cons and more convention events than I can even fathom. How many in a year do you have to get on a plane to go to?
Well, if it's like a Comic-Con, there's only a certain amount that I do. Like in Canada side, I haven't been to the U.S. ones because I don't need to be as hands-on in the U.S. Because they just ship in the United States. I can't send a truck from Canada to move it from Dallas to Chicago. That's interstating. So I have to use a U.S. carrier from one state to another state, or I can bring it to the one state and then I have to leave it there. So I don't have to be there as much. But then do a lot of the Comic-Cons. That's where I'm mostly utilized in. But then we're starting the it's RV, not RV show. I'm sorry, it's like ATV and like sportsman show type thing. That's just kicking off this week in Toronto. So got to be around there. There's a lot of good stuff going on.
So how many flights a year is that?
I don't typically go out to many of the trade shows that aren't Comic-Con related. I'll go to a couple of them, like the heavy machinery show, and then there's the meat show, which is a really good one. So sometimes I'll
The meat show.
yeah, it
Sounds like a good show.
yeah, but it's MEET, so it's like mechanical engineering, electrical, and things. So I go from.
I mean, also cool.
Yeah.
But I was thinking like prime cut.
I go from like the nerds to the geeks right after, right? So I go into like all the Comic-Con and all the fandom stuff, and then you turn into robotics and all this other stuff like straight after. So it's kind of cool that way.
So do you only go to the Comic-Cons because you actually like the comic shows, or because we're such a pain in the ass you have to be there to unload the stuff?
Am I allowed to say yes to both?
You can say yes to both.
Okay, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Other things that are occurring this very instant is another surprise guest on the show. Dear listeners, it's Winnipeg Comic-Con this weekend, so they're all coming in out of the woodwork. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Kevin Chow with Rari and Poli.
And what do you do, Kevin?
I draw cartoons.
And why are you here?
For the Comic-Con, actually. I get to travel the world, and Winnipeg's one of those amazing places where I can visit, see family and friends, come to the zoo, visit the museum, and, of course, visit the downtown area.
Isn't our job the best?
It is. But wait, and in the interest of full disclosure, why are you here?
To share the artwork.
Yes, that's right. To pick up a bunch of boxes that he left here. We're talking about getting heavy stuff to places is part of the...
From here too, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not easily moved.
Well, this was always like a bit of a like something that we talked about like early on in our logistical careers of like, wouldn't it be great if we could like keep boxes elsewhere along the roads? We didn't have to bring everything every time. And so
my original thought was just piles of stones, and they would hide our stuff in different cities, and then we'd have to unearth them like cairns of the dead. But Justin was like, or we could use a pallet.
Now my wife and I have retreated to a small cabin in the solitude of these mountains. Here I continued my research undisturbed by the myriad distractions of modern civilization and far from the groves of academe.
Gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Winnipeg.
Yeah.
The Winnipeg show looms. It's a long way to travel. You have to carry everybody's bullshit here.
Yeah, not too far from Toronto.
But if your stuff is here to pick up at our studio, then you didn't use the pallet. But you guys came on the same airplane to get here? Is this how
I met him at the airport, and I was like, that's a familiar face. What's happening?
Wait, you guys didn't know each other before this instant?
Well, I'm coming from Toronto. He's coming out from Calgary, right? So we're coming two different areas, and I can't check.
Whoa. You hadn't met before this?
No, we know each other.
Yeah. From the shows?
Yes. And I do move his pallets, and I do move his stuff here.
That's what I thought.
He's got his stuff here locally, right? So
I have multiple friends, and they all share.
I thought we had an exclusive.
No. We do move their stuff around the country for them when they can, but it all worked out. I can't check into my hotel till 3, and I was like, might as well stay at the airport for some free Wi-Fi. And I just stayed at the baggage claim, and then he's like, "Hey, bud, how are you?" And he's renting a car and coming to the same place. I'm like,
saves it for here, right?
Here we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Justin, the way Justin chasing Justin, Pallet Justin, all right, and Kevin, you two are great folks to have on the show to help the dear listener who wonders, how do I know when I have enough stuff? How do I know when I have too much stuff? And how do I know when I have more stuff than fits in a car and then needs to translate into actual freight? Because you, Kevin, have scaled over the years in this way to the point where now we need pallet just.
Yeah.
But
well, from a business perspective, and you really have to adopt the business hat as an artist once you reach a certain point if you want to go beyond the hobby.
For the dear listener, his hat is literally branded with his business.
Yeah. Now. Those are like $20 at any shop. That's crazy. I'm not too special. But the idea is, where is your time best spent? Renting a car, moving things around. As you get older, can you physically move these heavy objects around? Do you want to go through the pain point of limiting the options you provide to your customers?
He looked right at me when he said, when you're getting older.
Yeah.
I saw that.
But like, I'm 41. And so I started this in my 20s. It was great. I tried to save every nickel and dime. I did it. But now, instead of a 6-foot art alley table, we have a 10 by 20 space, if not bigger now at the shows. And in that growth, you start looking at different clients that you'll be seeing throughout the weekend. Some people want a $5 sticker. Some people want a $800,000 canvas. And that means size and shipping. And as you want to be able to tell your creative vision to the world, you want to be able to share those art pieces. And that requires logistics. And sometimes when you do it by yourself, it can be damaged, it can be lost. You physically can't check that into an airport. And so what better way but not only to have a standardized booth setup that can travel on a pallet, but also have someone who, like Justin over here, who understands logistics, will take care of it for you, physically comes to the show to make sure your stuff is managed. So all you have to worry about is to check in your clothes, come to the airport, maybe rent a car like I did, and then just show up and everything's taken care of. At the end of the day, when you're at that point, you're making more money in sales than saving had you done it yourself. And that's the big mentality that you have to get around as an artist and as a business person. At a certain point, you have to spend money to make money. And once you get over that idea, it's like hiring your first staff, hiring your first accountant, renting a studio space instead of working out of your home. Eventually, you reach an economies of scale where by having investments, you make more money and you can grow your business and your art practice. And that's the biggest thing they do not teach you in art school.
How did you, well, because Justin is a good example of this, chasing artwork. How do you guys make it so that the business side doesn't eclipse the art practice? Both of you work regularly, carefully on your art practice, and it has not yet been overshadowed by the logistics. But I always feel like that is a serious problem. I see publishers get overshadowed by that, and then it's usually the death of that publisher, right?
It's a balance of passion and responsibility, really. You have to be an adult and treat the world like an adult world. If you want to work with other adults, other professionals, you have to speak languages. You have to make sure that like they're getting paid their due.
The art world doesn't want to hear. Don't think what.
At a certain point, you just have to treat it like any other business. And if you can't see it that way, you have to find people to help you learn that direction. I'm lucky enough that I come from a business background as well as an art background. And I have a partner in crime, my wife, Jamie Mason, who takes care of so much of the accounting and back end that I can focus on the creative and the sales. So find partners, either marry them into the business and have them both go like I did, or develop some strong friendships. And as you do the shows, you meet people, you go out for dinner once or twice, you see them again, rinse and repeat, and then you start.
And she also, I just want a little shout out to your wife. She also writes novels in her spare time.
She did.
And I don't mean like just casually, I mean like finishes books in her spare time. It's crazy.
And she just had her first writing art show. She had her gallery opening this weekend or last weekend in Calgary. And so YYC Ghost Stories, I believe it's called. I was in Vancouver. So again, as you travel, I have to do work while she can do this. And you divide and conquer the world of being an artist, I guess.
Yeah. I think incrementally as well is like a big thing about this. Like when we started off, we only did local shows, right? And then it's okay, well, let's experiment and let's drive to Calgary. And okay, that was worth it. Okay, now is it worth it to like fly to Toronto to do a show?
Right.
And then figuring out like the baggage thing.
Yeah, when we started, one cover was enough for a book.
Yeah, one.
Right? One cover was enough for a book. Now we won't settle for less than 200 different covers of a book.
But I remember that's like that moment where it clicked in my brain where I was like, you know, when you're in an airport and you have an overweight bag, they make it seem like you've made the gravest mistake. Like, sir, this bag
This is unacceptable.
is 60 pounds. You like, do you know what you've done?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just the worst thing in the world to this person.
I won't name the carrier, but I had I just had this experience recently where they just looked at me like, no, this is 8 pounds over. And I said, oh, it must be something we could do. No, 2 pounds. It was 2 pounds over part of it.
2 pounds.
2
you should
pounds
be able
over.
to
Right.
shrink
So I took a,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I took an 11-pound portfolio thing out of it. I was like, well, I'll just carry this, I guess.
Yeah.
It's still on the same plane. So I don't understand what the calculation difference is, but I wasn't rude and she wasn't rude, but it was just intractable. But I had to put my baggage in oversized. So then I'm carrying it in one arm and I'm wheeling it to oversized. And then I got to oversized and he puts it on the thing and I said, hey, how are we doing for weight? He's like, oh, well, you're close. You're within like 8 pounds or something. I was like, well, this is about 11 pounds something. And he goes, well, you can put it in there. A few pounds doesn't make any difference to us. Right. So like, just depending on who you're talking to, it's either the most heinous crime or
Not an excuse for them, but I could speak some light to that. It's because it's unionized with that. And if they have weight packages that are X amount of weight, they have more union claims for throwing my back out,
You know what?
throwing my shoulders, hurting myself.
You don't
So they
realize.
keep it to a standardized weight so they can have everybody specifically. They do the same thing with garbage bags too. They don't want your garbage bags being
Just
full.
is a perfect conclose, Justin, because we were talking about how the freezing foxes are packed exactly to a certain weight specification.
Yeah.
It's for the same reason. A human person's back can only handle so much stuff.
But to my, like, what I was getting at there was
So we are monsters.
the moment in your brain when you realized, okay, if I'm paying an overweight bag is about $100 extra. But for us, when our product is sometimes just paper, right? $100 worth of paper is only a couple sheets.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to pay that $100, I can bring like an extra couple hundred sheets.
Right.
Like, well, that's completely worth it.
Yeah.
Right. So then, like, okay, now I'm bringing a bunch of overweight bags, but then, like you were saying, Kevin, it starts to get a little old, dragging around 70-pound bags.
Catching the train.
Yeah.
Navigating Ubers downtown, the potholes on the sidewalk. It just
Suitcases start to get destroyed.
you go use the bathroom halfway into your journey towards the convention center. You're like, oh,
You have 10 bags with you, and you have to. That was a good thing. He's like, "Oh, thank you. I can go rent my car, and you can hang out with all the luggage
Yes.
and the boxes."
Yeah.
Because he had to, or else he would have to take a whole cart all the way to a rental car place to check it all in. We had to take a cab there first, so you had to load up the cab, unload it.
Yeah.
It would have been a pain in the butt.
Well, fun fact for those listening here, if you go to U-Haul and buy the boxes, the large U-Haul box is the maximum size that Air Canada and WestJet and every other plane will allow you to fly with before you incur oversized baggage size. And if you go under 50 pounds within the contents of that box, you are fine. It looks weird, but it's allowed, and I've done it for the last 5 years.
And that, for you,
That's a pro tip we've never used.
you guys do canvases. So
Yeah.
doing an
Board.
entire box full of canvases.
Yeah.
Because they're big but light.
No frames,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
rolls.
Yeah.
Oh, I get rid of 50 pounds real quick.
Oh yeah.
I know. I just moved 4 of those boxes out of the back room.
Those are more than 50, actually. I was like, sorry, the weight is not an issue. If these guys are putting them on, they just rocks just for fun, right?
But like you do this for a while and you start to like, okay, like things are going well. Like what investments do I want to make in the enjoyment that I'm having? Because it was starting to get where like I'm getting stressed out by I have helpers. They're all maxed out on the bags they can bring. Everything's too heavy. Like it's stressful getting everybody from the airport, like to the show. Okay, like what does it cost to do a pallet? And then none of us have to bring any bags. We don't have to worry about weight now because we can put as everything we want on that pallet.
But in the interest of full disclosure, and this is good that you are here, 2 Justins, my 2 Justins at the end of this journey. The first time we did it, real worry, scary. Yeah, we like packed it full of air tags and wondered where it would be and how would it get there, and you have no idea.
It's like your family's leaving home for the first time. Like all your life, your sweat, the money, your sweat equity you put in there is now departing your control.
Because if that doesn't show up in the show, it's not just an oh darn, it's a
game because you're out everything, right? So that's the difference between it. You got to manage your expectations sometimes.
How often does it happen that something real bad happens to a truck on the way?
Very rarely. Well, like happens to the actual physical truck, or like the truck doesn't show up. It happens to the physical truck. I've never seen that happen. Like, but you'll have,
knock on wood.
You'll have your insurance with your trucking companies and stuff like that they'll provide because it's their umbrella. But like if you have your own personal insurance, which is better. But like anything can happen on the road. You can get T-boned in your truck, and then all your pallet could be on the side of the road.
Yeah.
But who's no
fluttering in the wind?
Somebody's there. But the odd time, some pallets can go missing here and there. I had one, unfortunately. Edmonton to this show, one pallet actually just went in the wind, and I'm like, wait, what,
oh no,
what can you do? Like, you know what I mean? You're relying on people's warehouses everywhere and stuff like that, and then like,
is it typical for people now to have tracking IDs? Yes. So like they must know
to our benefit and our detriment too, because you have people, hey, it's saying it's right here. Don't worry, it'll be there. Yeah, it'll get there. It's just the way you think it's going to get there is not the way it's actually going to get there. It's just it'll get there eventually. But then if it's not on time or something, we can figure out where it is. Where's your air tag or something? It's beneficial in that way too, right? So, but people tend to stress, worry warts.
Is it any different than your suitcases not arriving for your flight?
If you check your suitcases in the baggage claim underneath and it doesn't even get on that flight.
Yeah. Because you imagine this clear line that goes from where you hand it to the flight attendant to the aircraft. But if you've ever seen those rooms, see Die Hard 2 for what those rooms really look like.
Right, exactly.
Pure chaos in there. It's actually a miracle a bag ever gets to where it goes.
And it's
they don't care about the stuff. They just toss it. Right? There's a video that was going around. The baggage guy takes the guitar, doesn't take it out of the case, but just air guitars that, and then just tosses it on the thing. I'm like, cool. And then when he gets it, it's like the guitar is all broken in half. Well, that's pretty cool.
Whoops. But that would never happen in your. Have you ever taken possession of a pallet where you saw it and said, no, we're not supposed to deliver this the way it is?
Yeah, I tell people they can't ship it like that. They have
Yeah.
to restock it or something like that. Because it's your liability. It's our liability. If we touch it and we put it with a forklift, he turns the corner and it's misstacked properly. It's on him. It's not on you guys. Right? It's
Right.
we're touching it. So if it turns the corner too fast, the pallet goes over, something's damaged, it's going to be on the company that's handling it, right? The decorating company or whoever's managing that.
You can't understand that I had this thing in for a tune-up yesterday, and they said they'd go over everything.
Yeah, well, you better take it back, because the damn thing don't work. The only thing that does work is this lousy horn. Ah, go to hell. I'm not honking at you.
In the Indiana Jones style warehouse of those pallets, this is, I just want people to really have a good visual.
Yep.
Have you ever found like a casket with a human cadaver in it, a lost treasure, some lost pallet? Is it possible that there could be a pallet that was once shipped in 1965 that's still circulating,
Full of OG
cards, right?
Possible.
Right?
It could be possible, yeah.
Is this because you have the dream of traveling via pallet without telling anybody? We're just going to stack. We're going to put you in a little crate with some Oreos and water.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a William Gibson novel where
little
like a
hole so you breathe.
container, like a sea can,
Yep.
full of American $100 bills, like travels the world, always in circulation. It's a plot.
Oh, yeah.
It's a spoiler, dear listener, to Spook Country, but when it's needed, the CIA can then open it up and spend that money on something, on some
float.
Yeah, the international currency of really bad shit, I believe, is what the chapter is called.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So you've never found something like that?
No.
That you're allowed to talk about?
Not on my own. Not on my own.
Not on your own. Did you? Anyone else catch that
I
dodge?
encourage him opening every pallet he has.
Hey, what's in here? Hey, what's in here? It'll be a long time.
What's something you wish everyone would know before they freaking called you about this stuff? What's the most often like, okay, listen, I got to educate this person on something that they
Everybody
should
should probably know the palette. They want to know, first off, most people are like, hey, I need a quote for Toronto Comic-Con. I'm like, that's in February or March break in Toronto. So, okay, I can't give you a quote right now because the trucking industry, gas prices, strikes, everything could go on that could affect the timing. So if I can't give you a quote now, I got to give you a quote close to it. But everybody wants to be like, hey, I can get, how much is it going to cost me this year compared to last year? So I would like to know how much it cost me.
Sure.
This
Well,
year
we
to
did
get
that same
there.
dance, right? Wondering.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I can't give you a quote because I'm not going to be held liable to that quote because I can quote you $600 per pallet right now,
Right.
per se. And then come the time, it might go up to like $700
Right.
because of CN Rail goes on strike. And then that means more people need to use trucks to get across the country. So then trucking prices go up or like gas prices spike. So then everything changes. So that's probably the first thing. And then everybody just doesn't realize, yeah, I have one pallet. I'm like, okay, well, how big is the pallet? What are the dimensions? How much does it weigh? What are you shipping? Like, I don't need to know specific, but I need
Does
to know.
everyone assume you'll pick it up from their house also?
Yeah, well, like, can you just come pick it up from my garage? Okay, do I need a pallet jack? Do I need to bring a driver with a pump truck?
Right.
Does he need a lift gate? Because if I show up to a dock and you don't have a dock, how am I supposed to get that pallet in there? I'm not lifting it. So people just don't realize that stuff, part of it. But that's once you get the gist of how much that is and you start moving once or twice, we have an idea of how you move it, what you're moving.
Shout out. This is a moment to shout out to the Friesen's delivery driver who has made many deliveries to our loading dock, quote unquote, hanging air quotes over loading dock, the cave-like aperture that allows you to have lateral access to the building. And he has to,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a 100-year-old building.
Yeah.
Yeah, the loading dock was not built with.
Not very accessible because there's somebody's viewable part.
yeah, it might be my vehicle.
I throw it like, make a fun spark here.
Hey, it's Comic-Con day. I got to load it. But he manages to thread. He puts that truck. There's only maybe an 1.5 inch clearance on each side of that truck. He slides it right in, lifts the gate, and he can't unload the pallet because it's at an angle. So he has to bring it out to this like very tippity edge, and then we hand bomb it off of there. Just
Be a shout out to just professionals in general, people that are good at their job.
yeah.
It seems like you need
You know what I
to
mean?
weld this wedge that's a big metal plate. You can drop it on so you can just walk for that distance. If it happens so often, like, let's solve this. I don't want to fall and hurt my arm.
I enjoy the danger of it. I enjoy it.
He does.
Yeah, for a short.
Why roller coasters are so popular.
That's right.
Skydiving.
The roller coaster that is a life in the arcs.
Right, exactly.
How are we doing for time, Dan? All right.
I wanted to like bring it to something like that's really positive and amazing about the pallets. And like Kevin, you're like a great example of this. Is the booth that you build is not possible. No, flat, right?
No,
like the
no chance.
You are not building.
Suitcase booth is not
Suitcase
standing
built-
up.
You have 5 thin walls that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the booths that are now potentially possible now that we're doing like more of a pallet run next year, like my mind is racing with all the things that I kind of, would never have explored before because weight was an issue, size was an issue, planes were an issue. But now when you're getting into the pallet, and again, it's not right for everybody. And
And let's not get it twisted. We're not multinational corporations building our booths at Comic-Cons. We're still independent artists. So it's not like we have
Decade in though, right?
Right.
10 years, there's a lot of learning and pain.
Ton of learning.
Yeah.
It's good. What I think we talked about it in Edmonton. It's like with moving with the pallet, you can actually work on your business and not in your business. So you're not always constantly driving from spot. You're not driving from Calgary to Winnipeg, spending all that hours in your vehicle. Road trips are fun with the boys and all this.
See our road trip episodes.
So many of those.
It's a lot of fun and all this, but it does get taxing. You're tired and all this stuff. Then you have to load it all, lug it all, unload it, then redo it all on the other end. This way you can
Actually,
just fly.
That's the other thing. The unpacking and kind of repacking every show.
Yeah.
You don't have to do nearly as much.
Look
of
at
that.
Kevin's face.
Well, then you have the infinite amount of carts. You have to load up your bins, load up the cart, walk it all the way to your car. You can just stack your pallet there and then leave it and then walk around, wrap it up, and do that.
And you fly what you just need to top off for the next show.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you gentlemen are the perfect ones to have underlined a statement that I often say on the show and in public. And whenever asked, I will say it's important to control the means of your own production.
Yes.
If you're going to publish with a regular publisher, the reason you only get 10% is they handle all the stuff these guys just talked about.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to handle it all, then yes, you get to keep 85%, but then you got to lift a 50-pound box.
Yeah.
Right?
Unfortunately, it all happened. And like we are also talking about before is when you can bring more high value items, you can sell more high items.
Not even that, just bring enough,
right?
right? Some really busy shows, it's hard to just bring enough
you,
in
you
general.
say you're bringing a big canvas print or something like this, so you can never bring that in your backpack, and you have to set the frame up and build all that. You may make 2 of them or whatever, and then you can sell both those. But if you can bring 30 of them in one box, then why not? You sell 2 or 3 of them, your weekend's covered, and everything else is good, right?
Now, I like blue sky, but occasionally a thunderstorm is important to discuss. You ever pallet an entire booth setup to just the deadest show, Kevin?
Like outside in the rain, yeah.
Yeah.
Orlando was an example of that.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Oh yeah.
But you gotta do what you gotta do, and wasn't with Pallet Justin here. This is very early on in their careers. It was like, hey, we'll move stuff back to Canada. Duties are paid for. Costumes are figured out. Great. Now we just have to take care of the thing before we go to Disney World. And I realized quickly, I'd rather pay an extra $200 to do this on the show floor so that someone can pick it up and move it for me without me having to do it and drive to a depot. Again, you do it once, you see how stupid it is, and you ask yourselves, how much have you made over the weekend? Is it worth your time just to make life easier?
Right.
Like the same reason why you drive instead of walking. Like if you break it down, like you're paying for gas, you buy a car, insurance, all that fun stuff. But you do it because you can then use that time to enjoy life, if not focus on the business more.
See, I find, you don't know this, but you've come onto a show where I'm often talking about the wonderful walk I've had to work. So,
Well, with suitcases.
Walking is enjoyable. And it's,
oh no, I carry everything.
Yeah.
It's like Death Stranding. That's how I that's how I operate. Gentlemen, Winnipeg Comic-Con is this weekend. We are all putting a lot of eggs in that basket. We've brought a lot of stuff here to the city, and our hopes.
And my pallet is here too. I checked the air tags.
You checked the air tag, yeah. The pallet.
My job is.
It's wended its way here.
Yeah.
We started the episode talking about making a book, but not the sort of the good part of making a book, which is the artistic labor that goes into it, but the technical aspects of having an idea and trying to make it real, and how will it work, and having to talk specifically to the professionals that made it possible. Then we had some surprise guests who are really talking about what is necessary to get your business to feel like a real business. You have to rely on
Not so much a hobby.
professionals. That's right.
Yeah.
So for your last thoughts on the show, what would, Justin, you have to tell 10 years ago, Justin, about letting someone else handle it, how would you tell yourself from 10 years ago that it's okay to let a professional handle it? You and I look at you because you and I are both control freaks when it comes to that stuff. So what's the advice you could give?
I don't have anything too profound.
No, it has to be profound. It's the end of the episode.
Quote of the day.
I think like I'd always seen the whole, like the palette dance happening at the big conventions. And I'm like, I wonder how all that works. And I was always scared to ask. Like I didn't see any palettes happening in Artist
Not
Alley.
in your area, no.
No. So I'm like, maybe I'm like not part of that club and I'm not allowed to ask. And it wasn't until Raging Ape started doing it that they kind of figured it out. And then I was friends with him. So I was able to kind of like, we sat down, we had lunch with him and like, how does this work? And I kind of wish I had just, done
that sooner.
Maybe done that sooner and not left it off if you want. But I think that ask questions. People are happy to like explain this. Like Justin, you're like more than happy to explain how it all works. And I think most people are. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions about how things work.
That's it. Yeah. The more you're informed, the more you'll know, right?
Yeah.
And then you can just base your next move off of the knowledge that you've gained. So, for the thing with the Artist Alley is a lot of people in Artist Alley are retained to their smaller booths. So most people are like a 10 by 10. If you're lucky, so most times it's an 8-foot booth section. So you can't, for that much a product, a pallet isn't that much. You'd have like a quarter of a pallet, and you're paying X amount of dollars for that. But if you want to move and increase, like my friend Kevin over here he's like moving away from the small thing to the more bigger thing. He's got lights set up, and so he's not always reliant on the lights that are like 30 feet in the air.
See previous New York Comic Con episode.
You can't see anything as the shade and the angles and stuff like that. So if you want to bring all that kind of stuff, then you have to think about a different way of actually getting it there. So it's just, people don't. It's always the money thing when at the start they're like, oh my God, this looks like a lot and all this, but it's just how you manage it, right? And then you just got to manage, you're evolving and you got to manage your expectations. Just because you're bringing a lot of stuff doesn't mean you're going to sell a lot of stuff, right? It's always, one year's good, and next year's not always the best, right?
You pays your money, you takes your chances. Last thoughts, Kevin?
You just have to network with other artists. You're going to go into this business not knowing how to do anything, and that's fine because we all were there. But get out, go up, see someone who's doing something interesting, ask them questions, introduce yourself. And some people are a little hesitant on sharing what they know right off the hop, but TikTok is a great resource nowadays. Like they teach you how to do an artist, like start to finish at this point. It's kind of fun. Yeah. But once you get on the show floor and you're starting to see profits, and you're able to work the hours, like you're like, okay, I want to do this full time now. I want to treat this like an actual business. I want to be able to support a family. I want to be able to pay down a house and get a mortgage, all that stuff. That's a real situation you can find yourself in if the cards are stacked in your favor, but you have to go past a certain mentality of doing it by yourself. So network, hire the professionals to take care of it so much. For us, we have professional gallery walls that are designed for trade shows that fine artists use in art fairs where canvases go for $20,000 plus. So we looked at the industry, said we want to give our clients and our customers an experience akin to that world. But in order to do that, we have to invest in logistics. And hopefully it will pay dividends because people appreciate the details. They'll see the canvases and art in a new light, and then therefore they can buy more before having to raise prices. And that is how we evolve. We have affordable artworks, and we're very proud to be able to offer that, and also offer a unique walk-through art gallery, mini gallery, when you come see our stuff.
Which is only possible with the palettes.
Yes.
And it's also, it gives you an advantage to be separated from everybody else that has the same similar booth setup.
Yeah.
Because you stand out. Branding helps that way.
Yeah, branding is a big part. It's one of my sub-passions that I can go on a whole podcast about, but nonetheless, shipping is what we're talking about today.
But definitely.
Yeah.
Well, dear listener, you can come and check all our receipts at the Winnipeg Comic Con this weekend.
Hopefully we saw you there.
Yeah, hopefully. There we go. Hopefully you saw us and checked our receipts, dear listener. We were just by the time you hear this, we will have just been at the Winnipeg Comic Con. Whether or not your booth setup is just what you can carry on your back or what Pallet Justin can bring on a train and a truck, we wish you the best of luck. This has been Super Pulp Science, encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.